WSRF,
the first and only Haitian-owned radio station in the nation.
The following is an independently produced program. The views expressed within are not those of WSRF 1580 AM, their staff, or management, but are strictly those of the hosts, guests, and callers.
Nouvelle gaye, nouvelle tombe. Nou nan yon nouveau lokal ak yon nouveau nom ki se Alto Health. Alto Health toujou piwo. Pasan yo se VIP e yo ap toujou rete VIP. Alto Health ap trete ou avek tout ken nou e avek respect. Doktor nou yo avek tout staff la mette ansam pou yo ba ou yon soin eksepsyonel. Nou gen transportasyon, chauffeur nou yo se passe partout. Yo bral cherche ou, lakay ou e yap tan nou. Nou gen exercice, physiotherapie, docteur pied, cardiologue, avec un pilote spécialiste encore. Service accès, food stamp, Medicaid, Medicare, n'a aidé ou pour qu'avin citoyen américain sans ou pas payer rien. Alto Health là, pour nous tendre ou les ou parler. Relais Gilbert Franklin à 954 667 48 85, 954 667 48 85 pour nous résoudre tout problème. Adresse nous c'est 4850 West Oakland Park Boulevard, Lauderdale Lakes, Florida, 33313. Alto Health rive côté l'autre pas qu'arriver.
My name is Gilbert Franklin. You could always reach me at 954-667-4885. 954-667-4885. Welcome to Source of Information. The only place where you actually could get information regarding Social Security benefits, Medicaid benefits, SSI benefits, and all the other benefits related to Social Security. Today we're going to cover one subject, and hopefully I hear from you guys. It's you have no idea the impact when you call in with your question that airs on me personally, and also all the listeners, all the people that's listening. I have to tell you that I've over the years of doing radio, I've taken for granted the amount of people that are listening to this show. So it does not go unnoticed how many of you right now that's listening to me. So I appreciate you and I thank you for that. Let's get right into it. Survival benefits. Survival benefits, it's a benefits that come via Social Security that's there for parents that have worked and earned 40 quarters through their records. We're going to take a scenario, both parents, both father and mother, work and accumulate a total of 40 credits. And unfortunately, one parent passed away and left two kids. Well, those kids are entitled to certain benefits. Excuse me, I'm trying to position the mic exactly. Okay. Those kids are entitled to certain benefit. Those benefits are as follow. They will receive an amount on a monthly basis. For example, back in the days, I used to see survival benefits or child care benefits in the amount of $250. Now I'm seeing them on $498, $500. It's to give you the idea. So once that parent deceased, then the surviving parent have to go to Social Security and present certain information. The information that they're going to need, for example, is birth certificate. Of course, they're going to need the death certificate and marriage certificate. So that the mother, if the mother is making more than $23,400, then the mother will not be entitled to receive survival benefits. but the children will be receiving the survival benefits. Now, I don't think last year I talked enough about child care benefits or survival benefits. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this year to address that situation, but we're going to do our best. Because sometimes we don't have it planned exactly. What we're going to talk about is when we sit down in front of the mic, then the information starts spewing out. But we're going to do our best. So to get back to the subject at hand, what I usually like to tell you folks this, and I'm going to do the math. While I'm doing the math, what I want you guys to do is subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel, and it's going to pop up in front of you because right now we are live on WSRF 1580 AM on Facebook and YouTube. It's vitally important for you to support us that way so that this show could continue on the air. While we're talking about sponsorship, we are sponsored by Plan Advisor and Solis Health Plan. And not to forget Clidelia Management Services. You'll hear those three sponsors as we talk throughout this show. You'll hear more about them. So let's get back. Now, let's say you have one child that's eligible to receive the survival benefits. And that child is at the age of 2. They're scheduled to receive $450 a month. For the next 14 years, for the next 468 months, that child will receive roughly about $75,600. We didn't take into consideration cost of living adjustment. So if you factor any cost of living adjustment, it will go well over close to $80,000. So that's why we suggest what you do is, and I usually go back and give those two ladies that I spoke with regarding that, each of them have a different opinion. And I think I've been talking about survival benefits for the past three to 4 years. And each of those young ladies, one of them, the way she spent the money is by sending her kids into after-school care. The other one chose to use that money to send her kids to private school. Now, I could only make suggestion what's the best way to do, because that parent that's no longer with us leave a legacy behind. They couldn't, they were not able to leave a large lump sum, and they probably didn't have the intention or thought about it. And that's why I keep coming back to you guys with that information. Because many of you may not know anything about survival benefits. And of course, you're not going to know it because you're not in a position while you're alive to think about that. It's just like many of you do not think about having a life insurance, having a living will, because right now, that is not what's priority for you. But thank God that the leaders of the past, when they sat down, they weren't just thinking about themselves only, but they were actually thinking for you. So that's why today you're able to, once a parent, one of the parents is no longer around, then that child or children will be receiving an amount every single month until the age of 16 or until the age of 18 if they're still in school. 305-954-1580, 305-954-1580. Call us now with any questions that you may have or any comments that you may have. I told you guys, I gave you an example, two ladies that I spoke with, and here I am 3 to 4 years later. Every time I talk about survival benefits, I don't mention their name for privacy reason. One of them I don't even remember her name. One of them, yes, I still remember her. So by you calling, by you sharing your experience with others, that by itself is a legacy. So those people, their legacy will live on in you because I was able to share their experience with you. So for the kids, yes, they have that coming. And then I gave you two examples how you could utilize that money that's coming to you. And I used to say, if you just save that money, make a concerted effort not to use that money, well, you could utilize it when they go into college for dormitory expense, for the school expense. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. So I'm getting there's something else, because the survivor benefits has been around for quite some time. It's been around for quite some time, but it took someone to bring it to light. We knew about it for seniors once they lose their spouse. And the way it works for the spouse is simply this. The spouse, once the spouse passes away, the one that's getting the most money will most likely, the one that's getting the most money will most likely get the highest amount. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. We had to do a wardrobe change here while we were live on the air. Thank you, Jean-Robert. Yeah, so let's say, for example, two spouses, a spouse in the house, one passed away. The one that passed away was making $2,000, and the surviving spouse was making $1,000. Well, once you go to Social Security benefits and report a passing of a spouse, that amount is going to go directly to the surviving spouse, and they will discontinue the benefits that they were giving you, which is the $1,000, and now they will be giving you $2,000. That's an example. That's an example. But it could be different. It could be the spouse, the passing spouse was making $1,500, and the surviving spouse was making $900, and they will stop the $900, give you the $1,500. Now let's flip it around. If the surviving spouse was making more money than the deceased spouse, then they will just stop the deceased spouse benefits, and the surviving spouse will continue with her benefits based on her own records. Now, that was a short version of survival benefits for elderlies. But let's go back to the young folks. Now, if the spouse, that's the surviving spouse, if they don't have any children, surviving children, then that individual have to wait till the age of 60 to start receiving survival benefits. And at the age of 60, there's also an income restriction. Before I go into the income restriction, one thing that when you go to the Social Security, if you're going to continue to work, and watch how the income restriction really tied in without me thinking about it, if you're still going to continue to work and you're making $23,400 or less, then when you apply for the survival benefits, you're gonna ask them to do a restricted applications. Now, if you don't remember that, and unfortunately you find yourself in a situation like that, simply call me at 954-667-4885, 954-667-4885. Very simple. Or you could catch me on a Monday, on a Wednesday, on this station and other station to get the phone number so you could contact me. So when you do the restricted application, what that's going to allow you to do is that continue to work and receiving the survival benefits, and at the same time you're receiving your paycheck at the same time. Now when you reach the age of 67, which will be your full retirement age, then you're going to evaluate what's in your best interest. And your best interest is which amount is higher? Is the survival benefits is higher than your own records, work records, or your own work records is higher than the survival benefits? If your own contribution is higher than the survival benefits, then you're going to take the amount that's higher for you. For example, let me break it down differently. Let's say when you reach 67, you go to Social Security, and Social Security, or you have you created a My account, and I think everyone should create a My account so you are aware of exactly from year to year how much you're going to be receiving. Now, take into consideration that when they give an increase, that increase as well, you get that increase starting from the age of 62. So when you go onto my account, then you will be able to see each year exactly how much is your contribution, how much you will be receiving at the age of 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, all the way up to 70. 305-954 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. So you'll be able to see exactly where you are, and that way you could make a better decision. And yes, go online, subscribe to either on YouTube or Facebook. We are on live, so take advantage of that. And this is one way you could archive that information. And when it's needed, you could share it with a friend. You could, if unfortunately you're the person that needs that information, then you'll have that information in your possession. There's certain information that you need. Recently, I was in church, and the pastor was talking about declaration. That was a few months ago. And there's an online church. I went online and get the information and record it. And so those declarations, those prayers that I'm able to learn them by heart and be able to repeat them twice a day. This is the type of information that you have somewhere where you could access to it on a daily basis, or when needed. Everybody that's within a shot of the radio or watching me live should have this information saved, so that when needed to return to, you'll be able to access it. 954-667-4885, 954-667-4885. That's my direct line. But right now, I would like to hear from somebody at 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Let me hear from you. The line is wide open for the second half. Your question could be in Creole and English. So I would love to hear from you guys. All right. We've exhausted our conversation about survival benefits. I hope that it was very instructive for you. I hope that you put it somewhere, so when that time comes, if that time comes, because we know that the time's going to come, we just don't know how long, when it will come. Let's talk about, for the remainder of the show, we're going to talk about SSI. Because I think a lot of people still are getting in trouble because they're not utilizing these benefits properly. Someone came to me and present me a letter that they received from Social Security. And Social Security tells them that they have overpaid them. Actually, no, it was for disability. So we're going to cover disability and SSI at the same. Some of the information sort of like piggyback one another. Well, this person was on disability and decided to take a side job. But when you're on disability, if you decided you want to work, then you have to let Social Security know that. And you may have to go on a weekly basis to Social Security to show them your check, how much that you make on a weekly basis. But for that particular individual, it took them 2 years to finally stop his disability check. So now he's left with a large lump sum amount of money to pay back. And the letter goes like this: Mr. Jones, based on your record for 2025 to 2026, we have you as there's an overpayment on your record. And most people, when they receive that letter, they saw the word overpayment. They say, wait a minute, how did you overpay me? And that's when the confusion comes in. The overpayment comes in, and you could put in disability in there and SSI. The overpayment comes in because what happened that you were working and then you add on certain income, and all that time Social Security didn't do their job. What they did was simply continue sending you depositing that check for you, and that check you were spending it without having an idea. And when they finally caught up, they said, well, you have to repay that money back. And the first thing they're going to do is stop your disability check. And they tell you that you have to pay us back. And how do you do that? Well, I'm glad I asked that question for you, because then you have to sit down with them and negotiate. Agree to repay that amount. You can't write a check for $15,000. But what you can do is negotiate with them, let them know that there's a hardship, you need the money, and you will pay at a certain amount. But have the conversation with them. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. So, always make sure that if you're going to decide to get a job, a side job, whether it's a part-time job, you report it to Social Security so that your check will continue to come, because there's different programs for disability that you could get involved in. And those programs, what they will do is basically allow you to work and receive your disability check at the same time. Now, SSI is a different animal because SSI, what it does basically, it tells you if you work and if you decided to go take a second job, then you're going to be over limit. Then they're going to cut off your SSI, and it's going to be a snowball effect. Because once they cut off your SSI, then the fact that you're working, you're no longer eligible for Medicaid or food stamp. So now, remember, when you're on SSI, the state is paying a portion, the state is paying the Part A for you, which is $500 and change. Then your second portion is this. The state is also paying the Part B premium for you. Now what they're going to do is stop paying the Part A and the Part B, and now you end up with no coverage. I actually have a gentleman that's a similar situation, and we're in the process of trying to help him. The first step, we realized it, which was file for food Medicaid for him. And by him getting Medicaid, and see how we could reactivate the Medicare, because he has a Medicare number, but the Part A and Part B are not active. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. So once we have the Part A and the Part B reactivated, and right now we're in what we call the open enrollment for Part A and for Part B, and Part A as well. So we basically do an application and drop the application in the Social Security, and Social Security take care of the rest. Activate it, and what we did with that particular individual, we sent him with the eligibility letter from DCF to show that he's eligible for Medicaid. So Medicaid is going to cover Part A and Part B, providing his income is at a very low level. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Remember to subscribe to YouTube and Facebook. Go on there and like. There's a lot of people that actually tells me that they go on, you know something, I'm reminded I'm going to do this, and there's a lot of people that, my wife in particular, in case you guys didn't know I was married, have told me that she sent the chat is open. So if you guys want to chat with me, say hi, and I'm going to try to respond to you guys live. I'm saying hi to you, so go on there, subscribe, like, and send me a comment. If you have a question, actually, send me a question that you have. Somebody send me a heart. I appreciate that. Send me a question that you have, and then I'll answer. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Now, Gilbert, what I was talking about SSI. So SSI is a different animal. It requires that if you work in just one week of salary, you'll be over the limit that's required for certain people. Certain people, it may take a week and a half. With SSI, and it may take some a year to figure out that, yes, you're working, and since you're working, here's the amount that you're making. They'll immediately stop it. And now they'll stop your Medicare, and you end up with no coverage, no money coming in. I was giving you guys an example of an individual that came to the office. We went through the process with him, and his wife, and we're waiting on the result from Social Security and Medicaid. Medicaid is approved, but now we're waiting to hear from Social Security, activate so they could activate his both Part A and Part B. So the mere fact that he has Medicaid, that's going to allow him to fast track that process. But you don't want to get yourself in that situation. Now, I know that as a household provider, you have to make certain decisions. So if you decide to go back to work, if you have SSI, and you decide to go back to work, the SSI amount is not sufficient, then the first thing you need to do is go back to Social Security office, let them know that you're unable to provide for your family, sufficiently provide for your family with SSI. So you request that they discontinue the SSI benefits. And then what we'll do is continue to monitor your Medicaid, and especially if you have a large family, you will still be able to be eligible for Medicaid to cover the Part A and the Part B premium for you. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. So we covered three things today: survival benefits, and we say how important those are, and we cover SSI, and we cover disability. Disability is subject that I remember we had a call from Med Prida to talk about disability. That's a gentleman that we have to put on the schedule to get him on, and so we could talk about what's going on in our community regarding TPS. But that's a show that maybe what we could do is see what his schedule is like and bring him on for next week. I feel very honored to have prestigious guests that come on this show and bring you guys the proper information that you need. And so, and I think the last one we did has a lot of views. So we're going to make sure we bring them back so we could talk a little bit about the TPS, because that's a subject that's constantly changing. And we see a lot of actors taking advantage of that and going on social media and bring that information for you as well. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Now, every time that you see that sign that says subscribe, or en français, c'est abonné, then I want you guys to click that button and subscribe. Click that button and subscribe. I was told we have over 40,000 views. So I need to see you guys invite others so that 40,000 could turn into 80,000. The 80,000 could turn into 100,000. Share it. I would like to take this opportunity to say hello to all my friends in New York and Boston that went through a difficult snowstorm. Hopefully all you guys survived it, the cold spell. Anyway, so we discuss survivor benefits, disability, and SSI. Let me get in a little bit back up into disability. We find that a lot of people in our generation, the late baby boomers, they have, for some reason, have kids that was born with a certain disability. With disability, if you have kids that was born with a disability before the age of 22, through the parents, they should be eligible for Medicare. Now, I say that with a little hesitant because my nephew has Medicaid, but I've been trying to see if I could get a Medicare. I think I've tried that, and we were not successful. And maybe I need to ask more questions. There's a gentleman on the Social Security office when I was trying to get some information, and I was able to get him, and he gave me his number direct to call him in the plantation office to call him. So I try not to abuse that privilege, and I didn't call him much. So I will try to call him for that information and see those of you who have child that's disabled before the age of 22. Actually, if anybody listening right now, you have a child that's with disability under the age of 22, and what's your experience like? In fact, I'm going to find out. There's a particular person I like to have as a guest host, and this is a special show we'll do. I know she will say yes, but it's a matter of a schedule. When she's able to take that time slot off and be able to come on air and discuss her book. And I will have that conversation with her later, discuss her book and share her experience with you guys. And hopefully she'll be able to do it in both Creole and English. And I think if I could get her to agree, it will be a show not to miss. Because a lot of you have children with a disability. And I think those of us that do not have a child with disability cannot imagine what the other person is feeling. And is it fall within the guideline of what we normally discuss? But I think it's good for us to know or understand a parent that's with a disability child, because more and more those parents are us. More and more you find out children with autism, and every one of us have a friend or family member that have a child with autism or with a disability. So we'll make it a point to bring that, and I will have that conversation and find out when we could do that in the next couple of weeks to bring you this information. I don't know if we're going to have Dr. Semmelers this afternoon. I know we wanted to talk about something regarding a living will, which is something that's vitally important for you to have in the event that something happened to you. So we'll discuss that. See, when you guys call, the time goes faster. So the 13 minutes that I have, I'm going to discuss living will with you guys. And so if somebody calls with a question, and let's put the number up for them to call, 954-667-4885. No, sorry, 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. I'm getting old. Sometimes I forget the number. So let's put that up. Jean-Robert, I don't even know it. I could always count on Jean-Robert for something. Yes, 305-945-1580. Let's put that number up. You guys, whoever have a question could call me at any time. One of the greatest thing about this show is the fact that when I started with this format, by the grace of God, he just put me in that direction. And we were able to have people call in, and till today we still maintain that same format, and that format has proven to be very successful. One, from listening, hearing your opinion, hearing your voice. So it's 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. So it's been very successful. It's been great hearing from you. And it doesn't go unnoticed on me that your appreciation when you don't, even though you don't call in. So those of you who don't call in often or call every now and then or don't call at all, we know you're there. And you guys express your appreciation when you meet me in person. And you don't fail to tell me that how you've enjoyed the show. And let me tell you something. That means a lot to me, because there's certain days that, the day is rough. And when you hear somebody, like I had a young lady that came to the office and was telling me, she always listened to me, and she was reminded me of something that I did, and I don't recall doing it, but that's why you should always do good, because you're gonna forget the good that you've done, but somebody else will always remind you of the good that you are doing. That way you stay motivated and stay true to yourself and true to the information that you bring forth on a weekly basis. So that we appreciate every time we want. And I've gone to places where people just stopped and heard my voice and said, and called me by name. I appreciate that. So we appreciate you, and we're going to continue to bring you the information and stay true to the information, so that this would be a source of information, a place where you could get your information right. Recently, somebody came to me and they heard somebody told them that they're supposed to get $500 of deposit into their Social Security. And that person made one phone call to another person, and the person told them, no, that's not the case. They still didn't satisfy with that answer. They called me. And I want to address that real quick. There's a lot of people that's putting information out, but there's very few people that's putting information out that is true. And the way it's very easy to confirm any information that's being put out there. One is that anything that has to do with Social Security, an increase, you will hear about it here first. And any change that's being done, by law, they're supposed to send a newsletter, announce it through the media. So sometimes you'll get some people that come on a particular station and say things. We live in a time where information are put out there, and just to make themselves relevant. You have to be careful of the information that you're taking in. Here we make sure that we every information regarding Social Security benefits, regarding Medicaid. The fact that I've been doing this for a long time, I get that information directly from the source. So when I come to you guys and said, potentially you're going to get an increase between 2.3 or 2.5%, it's based on what I'm hearing from the media. It's based on what I'm hearing from like, for example, something just popped up here in front of me. It's based on what I'm hearing from the media. It's based on what I'm hearing from another sources, the inflation. So based on the inflation, I know I have an idea how much your increase is going to be. Based on that information. So we do our best to give you the right information. Over the years, you're gonna hear a lot about increases. Social Security is not going to give you an increase like this. They're not going to give you an increase. Right now, the government is having issue with a budget cut. DHF, Department of Homeland Security, yes, DHS. Right now, Congress is not funding that part of funding DHS. So they're at a stalemate. Those of you who listen to our president, I say our president because we live in the United States, so it is our president, whether we like him or not. But they're not funding DHS, and DHS is part of how could I use it? They're the one that's in charge of the ICE. So right now, the government, they're not funding them. But through the news that you'll find that out. And there's a lot more information that you'll find out when you listen to the news and when you get that some of that information directly from the source, from the news that's coming out. Nevertheless, I didn't watch the State of the Union last night, so I don't have much to report on that, and that's not my forte. But one thing that's my forte is to remind you to subscribe. You see this right there, this sign right there. I remember when I brought that attention to JS quickly came up with this with the idea of putting design. And hopefully there's a button that you could go on and pressing that button to subscribe. So please subscribe to this show on a weekly basis. I make it a point, and I'm going to try to make it a point to come in on Mondays so you guys could have information that's being brought to you on a regular basis. Well, it's almost time for me to take a break and let Gilbert get ready for the Creole version. Stay tuned. We're going to have, as usual, the Creole version of this show is usually one that's really always surprised me. It's the word. I'm always surprised by the turnout, the listeners. Again, my name is Gilbert Franklin. You guys could always reach me at 954-667-4885. 954-667-4885. Yes, people are questioning what I do. Yes, I do help you with replacing your alien card. I do help with you becoming a U.S. citizen so it doesn't cost you much money. All that, we do that. And let's not forget Alto Health. And Alto Health, plus haut, not monter plus haut at Alto Health. So don't forget Alto Health, located at 4850 West Oakland Park Boulevard, Suite 125 in Lauderdale Lakes, Florida. Again, it was a pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Gilbert Franklin. Again, the number is 954-667-4885. 954-667-4885. I love you guys. A bientôt. Bye-bye.
I worship you. I worship